Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we proudly present our spectacular show of podcast magic and imagination full of Disney wonder, news, and pop culture. It's the Main Street Electrical Podcast with Jenn Dave and David Dollar.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Dave.
It's Main Street Electrical Podcast. I think we're on 68, I believe. I keep forgetting to look at the number, but we're somewhere up there in the upper 60s. Just think it works. It's fine. 100 is right around the corner, way on down. Of course, we've got the 50th coming up very soon, which is exciting. But we're going to talk, and actually, I'm bringing this to you now, Jen, because why would I bring this to you offline? I'll just throw it at you on the podcast.
Great, of course.
I do want to have an episode or two. I know we've got 3 episodes coming up about our favorite things about Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
But I do want to have an episode about the history of Walt Disney World, how it came into be, what happened, where it comes from, all of that. I think that would be really, really fun to do. So we'll kind of get to that maybe in the next few weeks. We'll be talking more about Walt Disney.
Perfect.
And also talking about Walt himself, because I think everybody loves good old Uncle Walt. And I thought of no better person to talk about Walt Disney than with my friend. He's an author. He's a podcaster of multiple podcasts. He's like me. He's got podcasts everywhere. He's a speaker. He has a conference that happens every year. I've been to several years in a row. It's a fantastic conference called Thing. My guy Terry Weaver. Terry, how you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm doing good. I may not be the best guy, but I'm definitely a guy.
Okay, so one of the guys I know, Terry Weaver.
Dr. Jeff Barnes, aka Dr. Disneyland.
Yes.
Would be probably my good friend would probably be, and former Thing speaker would be a great person to have here to talk about.
Jeff Barnes is fantastic. I've met him.
Let's get him on the cast. Jen, get on that.
Great.
I'm still working on the My Yard Go Disney host. You can work on Jeff Barnes, the Disney.
Oh, that's easy.
Disney guy. So yeah, we'll get that. We'll make that happen.
That was a great show. The My Yard Goes to Disney.
Well, it's the host.
That was a good show.
The host has agreed to come on the show to talk about it. I got to coordinate the schedules and stuff. So it'll be a fun show when he gets on. But Terry, I do want to talk about you for just a second. Of course, we've got the book. Making Elephants Fly, which is fantastic. It's a great little read. You're good friends with McNair Wilson, who we've had on the show a couple of times. You're the reason I know McNair. And so apparently he is supposed to
behaved.
Be releasing a new book.
Absolutely, he did.
Book number 2 of his 7-part trilogy. Any insight on when that's first? Any insight on when his book is coming, and any insight on when your next book is coming?
Well, I actually talked to McNair like 2 nights ago, and I think he's actually sent it to the editor. So he's at that phase. Mm-hmm. Writing a book is like, I'm sorry, Jen, for this, but it is a lot like having a baby, except for I think I'm guessing it might even be more painful, because if that baby was a bear that you had to wrestle, that's what writing a book is like, especially when it's something you're passionate about. It's like, we're not writing like Sidewalks for Dummies here. We're writing books about topics that we're super passionate about. Mm-hmm. So, my next book is sort of like your podcast problem, David Dollar, where it's like I've got like 4 in the can. McNair and I have been working on a book that we can't finish until he releases this book that I'm super excited about. Mm-hmm. And I have 3 other books that are in some sense of completion, and I'm writing them all in different ways. So I'm kind of experimenting with my creativity in like different ways just to create and to bring value to people. And one of them is centered around a question that I ask on my podcast every episode. And, and so it's super fun. Writing is a lot of work though. And, I meet people, I met Karen Kingsbury one time. And I don't know if you know who Karen Kingsbury, super famous women's author. I say women because she writes books about like bookstores and the Amish, and
Jen, you'd know all about that.
Obviously.
It creates, well, let's put it this way. Half her books end up on like Hallmark or Lifetime. And like I think she has a TV series on Lifetime or those channels are really the same thing.
It's probably Hallmark. If it's wholesome, it's probably Hallmark.
Yeah.
If it's Lifetime, that means that there's some sort of assault going on and nobody believes her. So
if it's on the Hallmark channel, it's like it's like the Hallmark movie bingo. It's like, well, it's like we're in a small town, It's like the new Nicholas Sparks book is coming out. I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
let me guess, Leslie. And I order them as soon as I see they're coming out. I either try to order them. About half of them I've ordered autograph for my wife, but I'm like, when she gets it, I'm like, what body of water is it this time? Is it a creek? Is it a lake? Is it a river? Is it the ocean? And every time, like, we went to see one of his movies, and I was like, there's no water in this movie. What happened to Nicholas Sparks?
The drought.
And he had like just gone through a divorce, and I was like, oh man, he broke up with lakes. And so yeah, but every Nicholas Sparks movie, book, there's always like, it's by a water, and then like somebody died and we're all sad about it, and like Miley Cyrus comes to save us all every time.
Or it rains a lot, like The Notebook, because it rains in half that movie.
I know.
So it's apparently Ryan Gosling and Rachel McAdams cannot kiss each other unless it's raining, and so that's kind of the rule of the book. So
Yeah, okay, and I never understood that. I'm just gonna interject that. I'm not standing in the rain. I'm sorry. There is absolutely nothing romantic about standing in the rain and getting
really
absolutely
not.
soaked. That is
No. No.
not romantic. So
The
I
only
don't
time I
understand.
would say that ever was true in my life was at Walt Disney World. We went to the you remember the old Christmas party that used to be like
Yeah.
$60?
Oh, well,
you mean in 2013? Sure.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. And we went there one of those times, and I don't think we had ever done Disney at Christmas. It was like the first time we had like the financial freedom to be able to like go that time of year. We didn't go at Christmas because that's insanity. I think it was in 2009 actually we went, and it was the year that we had just bought into Disney Vacation Club.
Mhm.
And so like we had a bunch of points that like when you get they give you a pony and
Yeah.
everything. Just back then the economy was down, so like they literally, I think they gave us $500 in a Disney gift card just for showing up to the tour. That
Wow.
they don't do that now. But and they got us good on DVC, man. We'd stayed at Pop Century and we did a split stay at Beach Club, and it was like, and there was a cheerleading competition at Pop Century,
Oh gosh.
which will make sure like I haven't stayed in that hotel since. I have. But anyways, we were at Magic Kingdom for the Christmas party, and of course you get like kind of dressed up and you want to go like get your picture with Mickey and Minnie. And I remember this vividly because I was wearing my Chucks, and we got out of the bus stop, and it started raining so hard. There was literally a river coming down Main Street, and by the time we got, and our pictures, like we still have the pictures, we look like wet rats. And but like, we have a picture of us kissing on Main Street, and I was like, okay, it's in the rain. We definitely made memories that night, and we got free tickets to come back and do it another time. But which I hear actually happened like at last week's Boo Bash.
Yeah, that happened for the Boo Bash last week.
Yeah.
So my rain story, since we're here, like high school, because I grew up watching movies, and so my whole idea of romance was in rom-coms. So I'm like, well, this is awesome. Dancing in the Rain must be the most romantic thing ever, because I saw it in like 15 movies. And my high school girlfriend Cindy, it was sprinkling, and we pulled off, and I was like, hey, let's dance in the rain. And she was like, no, I'm not having that. We're not doing that. No. So that dashed all of those right there. I'm like, those rom-coms lied to me. So
Yes,
apparently they don't
did.
want. Apparently, sending 6 dozen roses to a girl after a first date is not a good idea. I didn't do that, by the way. It's a second date. Anyway, so Terry, I got to ask you though, buddy, how did you Disney this week?
How did I Disney this week? Well, I'm going to Disney next week.
There you
So
go.
I'm in the process of packing. If this isn't a video podcast, but you can pretty much tell, my office, my house, my life is kind of hard to avoid. All things mouse. And when people find out you write a book called Making Elephants Fly, you end up with a lot of Dumbo gifts. And so, not gifts, but gifts. And yeah, so like, yeah, I guess how I Disney this week is I mourned what happened to the annual pass program this week.
Wow.
We'll touch on that in just a second. Jen, how'd you Disney this week?
How did I Disney this week? Well, gosh, I did something for the 50th. What was it that I just did? I had to make some adjustments. Oh no, I lied. I signed up for the for a conference down in Disney. So it's an owners. It's an owners summit.
It's an owners conference.
Which I know when that owners conference is, Jen.
Do
And
you?
you should stay a couple extra days because there's a conference in Orlando you should go to right after that.
Is there? Well,
Basically,
maybe
Terry, the way to
talk into
talk her into that is simply saying, Jen, you can stay in a couple of extra days at the Grand Floridian. And she pretty much she'd go to a rattlesnake conference if that was the case. I mean,
I don't
you
know if
know,
I go that far.
she might stay at the
but
resort, but she'd sign up for it.
Are you a huge Grand Flow fan?
I do
Oh.
love the Grand Flow. It is my jam. Listen, that is my home away from home. And like I know, and I'm DVC though, so like I do stay at the villas.
Okay, and that's a
So-
huge difference at the Grand Floridian. Huge difference
Yes.
between the villas and like the grandmother's rooms in the main building.
Mhm.
And
the main
so-
building, I will say they are ready. They need, because I did stay in the regular rooms.
They're refurbishing that next, aren't they? Isn't
They
that the
are
report?
refurbished.
Okay.
That's what I've heard
Yeah.
is that they're refurbishing that next.
That and All-Star
Yeah.
Sports,
which
different ends of
scares the heck
spectrum.
out of me because Chapek's going to get a hold of that.
Mhm.
And
Don't.
like there's going to be an insert $1 bill machine in the toilet to flush.
I mean,
it.
probably.
Yeah.
That's
And so
it's about right.
Oh, Bob, paycheck.
But it is very, very different when you're doing the villas, and I adore the villas. I just want them to bring back my coffee machine though. The Nespresso in the lobby of the DVC there is amazing, and I love to sit there and watch the fountain. But last time I was down there was no coffee machine, and
COVID probably killed your Nespresso. But
That's
COVID,
not
I
okay.
bought an espresso, and that was like my favorite investment of all time.
that's a smart investment.
Like we were stuck at home, and it was like, you went. Starbucks was like still open for drive-through, but it
Right.
felt like you were getting coffee from someone in a hazmat suit. It was like,
Oh my gosh, right.
like if I'm gonna sit here and drink my $6 latte, I want it to be an experience, and so not
Create your
someone-
own.
not someone with the same gloves that they touched the last coffee with. And so
That always confused me. Like, because you're not washing those gloves and you are
No.
not changing them between drinks. So just wash your hands. That's whatever.
Two things to know about Jen, Terry. Number one, she grew up Amish.
I didn't
and
know.
She's from Pennsylvania, so obviously she's Amish or has Amish ties. And two, she's one of the most bougie people you'll know, and she admits it. She's like, I'm bougie. And if I mention All-Star Sports, she's not convinced All-Star Sports exists. She actually thinks it might be a myth that I've been like a running gag I've been holding on to for years. And so
I have expensive taste. What can I say?
I don't blame you. And here's the deal with All-Star. I mean, real deal, real talk. Stay at a neighboring hotel if you're going to stay at All-Star. I know, David Dollar, this is going to hurt your feelings and stuff, but if you
more
wanna
room for
have
me,
more
room for me.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I have a few friends that are like, yeah, when I go to Disney, I can't stay
sleep
in
and
any-
shower and then I'm out. And so
I can't even
yeah.
stay on their properties. They aren't
Yeah.
good enough for me. And so like, I get it. Like I have some Four Seasons friends.
Mhm.
So like,
That's a nice hotel.
yes, that's a whole nother level.
That's another level right
It
there.
is.
So
It is important to reference
okay.
though that if I'm solo, I'll stay as cheap as possible because it's just me and I don't care. I'll sleep anywhere, whatever. As I've told Jen and the show, my wife does not put her feet on anything less than moderate carpet, if not deluxe. She does not do when she got her raise at work. The first thing she said to me was like, "We're not staying value resort ever again, ever." So,
the
Correct.
new rooms,
Stephanie.
the new rooms at Pop
oh, they're
are
great.
an upgrade.
Mhm, mhm.
What's always amazing, and this is maybe a study on human psychology. The cars are always the nicer cars in the parking lot at the Pop Century than they are at the Grand Floridian.
That's because people can afford the cars because they stay at Pop Century.
I know, like all the Mercedes and Lexuses, and like when you go to like the Grand Floridian, it's like a 1982 Toyota Corolla that people roll up in because the rooms are $1 million a night.
Well, exactly. You can only afford your '96 Tercel. That's all you got.
Yeah.
Grand
although
Flow.
I think my favorite. This is going to hurt some people's feelings, but I think Port Orleans might be one of the best hotels on property. Period.
I love French
That's
Quarter.
a good.
It's my favorite.
That's
It's
a
my
good
favorite resort.
property.
So
And the Grand Destino Tower, don't sleep on that either.
Mm,
been there. It's awesome.
Grand Destino, I will say that I do have a night coming up there because just the way everything worked out, I am doing one night there, and I do like Grand Destino Tower, even though it's moderate. It's like a moderate.
It
plus.
doesn't feel like a
It does
moderate.
not. It does not feel moderate.
And if you really
So-
want to go bougie, if you need to bougie it up, Jen, go concierge level. Their
Well, I
concierge
mean,
is
that's
nuts
always
as nuts at Grand Destino.
that's always preferable. So just saying. I mean,
This is why Universal hasn't paid out in forever, is because Jen just keeps it to go bushy. And she's
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I'll just write
yeah,
you your
okay.
check. I'll just pay your commission whenever you're ready.
No,
Whenever I'm
that's the
ready to.
Botox fund.
Oh, that's true. That
Which,
is true.
to be fair, I have never had Botox in my life, so I'm just gonna put that out there. But
So-
Funny enough, David Dollar has. So like,
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
That's why my smile is a permanent smile. So my Disney this week, and of course last week we talked about the fact that I got to run my first 5K. I was real excited to run Disney thing.
Mm.
Unexpected, had no idea this was going to happen. That night, I opened up my front door to look for actually a Funko Pop that I had coming in the mail. It wasn't here yet, but there was a flat box. I'm like, I don't know what this box is. Had my name on it from somewhere. I didn't know what it was. I opened it up, pulled it out, had a Lion King box on it, and I was like, oh, this is my medal. 12 hours after I run my first 5K, I get my medal. All excited. I was excited, just really pumped for that whole coincidence and
So
how all that
cool.
worked. So real quick, and I say real quick because the three of us, who knows, we might talk forever. I do want to ask you, Terry, just brief thoughts on Genie Plus. Just kind of get your take on,
Can you make this thought?
is there a good, and if so, the good, and maybe only one of the bad.
Robin Williams, I'm sorry. We have defiled your legacy with here's what we actually discussed this on WDW today.
Yep.
If we had just said tickets are $15 more a day, boom, end of story, bingo. And the problem with it, the biggest problem with it, there's some really cool stuff. I think the free Genie stuff is actually going to be revolutionary.
That's nice.
And if you truly get to the Magic Kingdom and it's super crowded and it looks and it's like, hey guys, there's no one in Animal Kingdom, you should go there for the afternoon. In the app, it's like, hey, do you want a fast pass for Avatar right now? And you're sitting, like, some people are going to jump on that like that.
Right.
Some people hate park hopping, but for people who want like to, people like David Dollar, who's like who have had the thought of like, let's ride every ride today. It's gonna add
insane.
another layer of possibility.
Yep.
Where my biggest problem with it, and you guys are both travel agents, so you'll appreciate this, is confused people don't buy anything. And this is literally the most confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, I've literally heard 15 people explain it, and everyone kind of explains it different because we all can't quite figure it all out.
Because they haven't released all the details yet.
Yeah,
Like, there's
it's
still
like
details.
Every
we're
time
still
you look at
missing.
it, it's like, did you know there's like a guided audio tours as part of it? What the heck? What is that? And then I think where it feels the most like weird is the rides, especially they're going to do the virtual queues for, where it's like, we're going to make this so hard to get. If you don't get it, you can buy it.
That is weird.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I do think like there's a demographic of my clients that are like ready. They're like, sweet, I'll just pay for it. I don't care. But not all. Of my
I think
clients are
that
there.
I really feel like Disney should have come out with a very vague blanket statement, simply said, coming this fall, Genie Plus, your chance, it's a replacement for Fast Pass, and your chance, it's a paid Fast Pass system or something to that effect, and leave it at that. When they had all the details, roll it out. We could speculate all we want with very little, but I feel like they gave us just enough to be, okay, I see what's going on here, without giving enough details to really fully understand it. And I think I have a pretty good grasp on it. I think we all do, but at the same time, it is hard to explain to clients because I think their biggest mistake is the fact they didn't use the name Fast Pass. They should have said Fast Pass 2.0.
The terminology. Why did we have to change it?
Fast Pass 2000 or the next evolution of Fast Pass or something, because
it's Lightning Lane sometimes is free, sometimes is paid, sometimes is we've learned a lingo for a long period of time.
Yeah.
And they spent so much money on the Magic Band in the My Disney Experience.
Yeah.
So now you need My Disney Experience, one app that doesn't work, and another app with, what is it just called Genie? Is that what it's going to be?
I think it's part of the My Disney Experience. It will be like an
it'll
update.
be part of the app that doesn't work. And that's the whole thing.
It won't be a separate app like the Play Disney app is separate.
I don't understand how Disney's like, I don't know. I feel like they can. I don't know. Maybe it's not possible to stress test this to the point where they need to, where 50,000 people are trying to use it at once. It just, maybe they can't. I don't know. But like they have to put in some sort of exception for the fact that for the first 3 or 4 days to 3 years, it's going to not work.
I love the fact you're asking for positives. I love the fact that it's going to take away from the fact that you need an abacus in 180 days and all the pre-planning that goes into a trip. What I don't love is that guests that are staying on site are going to be asked to get up at like 7:30 in the morning
Mm-hmm.
to make
Seven.
their
Seven.
7. Yeah,
Yep.
7 for them. And then I didn't go on vacation to get up at 7 in the morning. You know, like, I mean, and that's one of the, I mean, FastPass Plus kind of did that to us too. If you really wanted that rolling 30.
Yeah,
Right.
you had
Now,
to.
now
Yeah.
granted, I'll be bougie and honest here. Most days, Leslie and I, we go to the parks. Leslie's my wife, and we go to the parks, and we typically do our fast passes, and we have some things going on that we take advantage of the disability accessibility pass, with my wife's chronic illness, and I mean, we're not the people who we're not David Dollar in the parks. I do that
You're
when I
not
go with
doing
my
all
boys.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
I do that when I go with my boys to Disneyland, but I'm also as the odometer keeps rolling here, like my desire to do that gets more and more like, I'll just go. Like a dream day in the park is I go to Animal Kingdom, I go ride the safari, and then I spend the rest of the afternoon in the lounge at Tiffin's. That's a good day for me. The Nomad Lounge, I'm good. I'll walk over. We'll go have dinner and then go see fireworks somewhere. And I'm so glad fireworks are back.
Oh yeah, I'm so thrilled about that.
No,
you sound like you tour a lot more like Brady and I do now. It's
just
chill.
I mean, that's why I have an annual pass. So like,
Correct.
if I don't have to ride it all, I don't have to see it all. I typically like to do the new attractions.
Some of the
I
classics.
go with a lot of business people. The thing, and we do a day in the parks with a Disney Imagineer. We do all of those things, but like even those days, like the little nooks and crannies of the park are where the magic is for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Not the 4-hour line for Peter Pan.
Right.
Right.
Well, hoping with Genie Plus, it's only going to be 3 to 3.5 hours, which is not. Well, one of the things I do like about this system, though, as a positive, is that previously you did your 3 fast passes, and let's just say it's a busy day, and your travel agent did the best they could, and your last fast pass is not until 1:00. Whereas now you can try to knock them out one after the other. And if it's 11 o'clock, you've used a couple fast passes. You look on, and you see, oh, there's one at 11:20, and then there's one at 12:30. And so it's not like you're having to wait till later and sometimes out of our control, your last fast pass may not be till 3 o'clock. If it's a ride you really, really, really want, and the client's like, I don't care when it is, we want to ride Frozen Ever After. Yes, it's at 3:30 in the afternoon. So you have to wait that long to get another
one.
pass. So that does eliminate that part of it, which is kind of nice. I will say that's going to work. And it's going to be interesting to see who does this, because if all the people that don't like this don't purchase it, then Disney's going to have to do some different things, because this is going to be a complete failure. But I have a feeling that people will buy it, and I have a feeling people will grumble about it and will get it.
People on a survey. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that's how they'll act, but a lot of the big Disney bloggers, I think Inside the Magic, I've seen Laughing Place do a survey. I think like 50%. 50% of the people aren't going to use it, which, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I figured out the math. In 2022, it's going to cost me at least $1,000, $1,500 more to experience Disney the same way that I have for years.
Right.
Not to mention what meals are going to go up.
Yeah, we're waiting for the dining plan prices to come out.
Yeah, we're still waiting for that. Yeah.
And I'm bracing for that. That's going to be insane.
And I'm an entrepreneur, so for me, it's just like I've got to sell something else or do something else or offer something else. For you guys have the ability. It's like, we'll just sell another vacation, no big deal. But for like a lot of people who are salaried, who have, who are school teachers, who still make a respectable living, the argument that Disney is starting to price people out, we're getting dangerously close. That people who have been every year are going to move to an every other year family to Disney, and that's a bummer. Because we go to Disney at least once a quarter most years, and it is, I'm normally at Disneyland at least once a year. We're normally at a Disney cruise at least once a year, but at some point, even being happily in the middle class, that's gonna become impossible. A Disney cruise was a 3-day on the Wonder was, $1,500 with a balcony, and it was a great weekend. A great 4-day trip, and now that's not touchable.
Well, since we're talking money, we might as well go ahead and bring up the new annual pass holder program that's coming out as well. Since we're already in this mire here, let's go ahead and work our way out of it eventually. But they did release the new pass holder program. We knew it was coming, and we all were guessing it was going to be higher. And so really, these prices are no surprise. Basically, there are like 4 options or 3 options. If you're a Florida resident, you have several different options. Some with blackout dates, some with a few blackout dates. You know, some get merchandise, blah, 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 park reservations, whatever. There are details you can find online. You can find them on uponstartravel.com, our website as well. The big one, of course, is the Disney Incredipass. And for $12.99 plus tax, if you're looking for new, for a renewal, it's $1,100 or $8, I believe. I think that's
it was 11. I know
tax.
it's 110 something. So
visit one of our Walt Disney Resort theme parks in the same day. So you get the park hopper and holds up to 5 park reservations at a time for the $1,500 pass, and you can add Memory Maker for I believe $99 for the year. I guess stick that on there to your
you no longer get
free.
No longer get free memory.
You do get,
and I think that's my biggest.
Yep.
Yes, I agree.
My biggest is like charge more, take stuff away. Don't charge more and take stuff away.
Right.
And that's
it's one or the other, but they did both. And from what I understand, you have to add. So like Brady and I would both have to add Memory Maker to our annual pass.
I don't think so because you've only had to have
I've read back and forth about that. That's what
I mean, would they just block his picture out or something? Or I mean, how would they even
I don't
work?
know.
No, I think it's just Memory Maker. You just have to have.
Hopefully, it's just one.
Yeah, I don't know how they would even police that. To be honest with you, I mean, like they're not going to take off half the family because half the family didn't purchase.
Well, I would hope not. But
I don't know. I mean, this is Bob Paycheck we're talking about. I feel like every day he wakes up going, "What else can we charge for?"
For perspective, we became Disney Vacation Club members in 2008, 2000, in that time frame. An annual pass then was with no blackouts, no like, just the regular annual pass, not the premium, not the water parks and more.
Yeah.
But basically the same pass they're selling you now for $1,200 was $469.
That's probably why we had one back then. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't get a 4-day park hopper for that price anymore.
You can barely eat at Cinderella's Castle for that price for a family. Honestly, actually, with a family of 5 or 6, you can't eat for that price.
You can't. Yeah.
And
2009, kids, wasn't that long ago. Like, it wasn't that meme that's going around that's like, 2021 and 1980 are the same distance as 1980 and 1939.
Why did you just have to bring that up? Now you're triggering me, and I'm hurt, and now I'm gonna go cry in the corner.
My favorite comparison to that, honestly, is the fact that Dirty Dancing came out in '87, about set in like '62. If you did that now, made that movie right now, you'd be setting it like 1997. So
again, triggered. So
yeah, that's not even triggered. That's like, all right, Dave, I gotta go, buddy. I gotta
you know what, you're right, Terry. Like,
so let's talk a little bit about what we came to talk about. Of course, that is good old Uncle Walt Disney, and I thought it would be kind of fun to share some of our favorite Walt Disney quotes because Jen and I both have, and Terry may have this too. We have an entire book of quotable Walt Disney. It's an entire book of nothing but his quotes and his quips and whatever. But you can go online and just type in favorite Walt Disney quotes, and they're all over. And I've got a list of some of my favorites, and I thought it'd be kind of fun to talk about those, just to kind of talk about them, and not only talk about it, but also maybe what that means to you. Like, does it inspire you? Is it funny? Is it whatever? Jen, let me ask you first. What do you love about Walt Disney? When you think Walt Disney, obviously Disney creates Disney, but I mean, what is it about Walt Disney that you're like, I'm still looking to this guy all these years later. He's been dead forever. I love the parks. I mean, what is it about Walt Disney that just makes you go, that guy is awesome?
I mean, like, he was passionate and he was fearless about just whatever. Like, he knew what he was supposed to do and he went after it. Like, he mortgaged his life several times. He was penniless more than once. Like, it was like, no, this is it, and there is no plan B. And I love his philosophy on all of that. And it was just like, okay, this is what it is. And he was true to himself. He never, like, he didn't compromise just because it's like, oh, well, that's a lot of money, so let's do it this way instead, even though Roy totally would have loved him to do that. And he was like, sorry, bro, it's going to be like this. And I mean, that is why, I mean, and we we complain about the different things, but at the same time, like that is why it has become what it is today. You know, that there is not another entity that really can match, for the most part, you know, like what he put into place. Everybody else imitated what he did.
Right.
Essentially, it wasn't just like a fairground anymore. It was, no, this is an experience. So everyone else kind of rode on his coattails.
Terry, what do you love about Walt Disney?
Well, I want to follow up before I answer that question,
Mhm.
because I think a lot of people look at like, you know, we always say, what would Walt do? Right.
Mhm.
And, you know, I think what was super interesting about the success of the Disney company throughout history, there are three components that always existed. Walt was the creative.
Mhm.
Roy was the business mind.
Mhm.
And there was always someone else that was kind of in a seat, or a group of people that were in a seat that were like the Jiminy Cricket. They were the conscience. And for
Mhm.
the longest time, it was Marty Sklar after Walt's death.
Mhm.
Marty Sklar was Jiminy Cricket.
Mhm.
Frank Wells was Roy Disney.
Mhm.
And Michael Eisner was Walt Disney in a lot of ways. And even Bob, it pains me to even say this, Bob Iger in a lot of ways had a very creative
Okay. Mhm.
strain. He was very, if you watch the Day on the Life of Disney stuff that they've done, was it One Day in Disney that's on Disney Plus?
Mhm.
Bob was a creative force in a lot of like creative meetings. And it's not, you know, we all give Bob Chapek a hard time, but he's not, there's no one in the Walt role.
Right.
Yeah.
If we could have figured out a way to like send John Lasseter to like counseling for 6 months and like all hugged and said, hey, to actually John, stop
Mhm.
hugging people.
Yeah. Yeah. Not hugged. Not hugged.
If we would have had him in this place,
Yeah.
and I feel like we would have definitely had a little more of a different dynamic. And I think that's kind of what I think a lot of the tension that a lot of us are feeling right now.
I think Josh Tomorrow is everybody's hope for that. And I
Yeah,
don't know enough
yeah.
about Josh Tomorrow to say he's the heir apparent to that role, but I feel like a lot of people, and maybe because people disagree with Chapek so much, they're just looking past him to say, who's next? Okay, Josh, we'll take him.
You know,
But-
and I think
yeah.
cast members all love Josh.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think, you know, Josh is, and he knows if he even said it right. But like when Genie Plus came out, like his response in D23 was cringeworthy. Because it was basically like, well, you know, our we built this attraction called Rise of the Resistance, and people can't get on it. So because people can't get on it, we want to like give people a chance to pay to get on, and that's what people want.
Right.
Yeah. No, what we wanted you to do was build a ride that worked that we could all get on and experience in a day. And I get it, you can't ride every ride in every park every day, but if you're staying on property, it feels like it's a no-brainer just to give people who pay the extra money. No offense to Jen, but you know, at the end of the day, the Grand Floridian, as nice and as awesome it is, it's just a really nice Hampton Inn.
Say Hyatt, or she'll get offended. Say Hyatt. Say Hyatt.
So no, and believe me, I'm a Hyattman. But
I'm a Marriott girl.
Yeah, the Marriott has the perk of the year 24, which is my favorite hotel program, where if you check into if you're elite status of the Marriott and you check in, you get 24 hours in the room. It's like, why haven't we been doing this the whole time?
Literally, but I'm elite, so there.
Yeah,
exactly. Jen and I are going to start a new podcast together. Sorry, Dave, called the Bougie Disney Podcast.
Dude, I'm in. I'm so
well, there is no talk about value resorts here.
Yes,
we don't acknowledge them.
And I'm a Hampton Inn guy because they gave me cookies the first time I stayed there, and I've been loyal to them forever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
You know, and here's what I love about Walt is audacity over everything. You know, Walt was that Chumbawamba song before the 90s.
That's
you know,
true.
Walt consistently got knocked down. And if you've had the chance, I've not been to his Chicago birthplace home. I definitely want to do it. But if you've actually, I did have the chance to go to Marceline, and then to go from Marceline to his house in Kansas City, where the train where the Laugh-O-Gram studio is, and his home. His original, like where they lived, was just, you could almost stand on Laugh-O-Gram and throw a baseball and hit his house. And then the walk, and then the drive from over there to the train station, where that famous train ride that he took, after losing Laugh-O-Gram, you know, and then, you know, you're right. Everything Walt did was he was all in.
Yeah.
And I work a lot with leaders. I do a lot of coaching with leaders, and there's a trait that Walt possesses that a lot of most high performing leaders have, and that's that they don't act like there's a plan B. And Walt never acted like there was a plan B.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jen said, when he did Snow White, he literally mortgaged everything.
Mm-hmm.
When he did Disneyland, he mortgaged everything. When they bought all the land in Florida, they went all in. And I think a lot of us think of Walt as a dreamer, but Walt was a doer.
Yeah.
Walt had audacious dreams, but took even more audacious action.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what's most inspiring. And obviously, you guys know this. You definitely feel that when you walk on Main Street in Disneyland, when you walk in and see the light still on in Walt's apartment. I'm like a little girl at the American Girl doll store every time I hit that park, and I'm just like, it's so cool, Walt. You literally feel Walt when you walk down Main Street.
What I love about Walt is his resilience.
Yeah.
And I love that he learned from his mistakes, because when you read biographies, one thing you find is that he'll do something and it'll be a success, but then he realizes, oh, we could have fixed that. When he did Disneyland, he realized, oh, we didn't buy enough land, and so we got all these restaurants and all these hotels and gas stations around us. Let's go to Walt Disney World. Let's build a Walt Disney World over here and take up all the land and solve that problem. Whenever he lost the rights to Oswald, he regrouped, he did Mickey Mouse, and then he decided, you know what, this is my character, I'm going to put things in place where we don't lose this character. And like one thing after the other, every time he failed, and there were a lot of failures like any leader is going to have, it's like you look back and you see he learned from it. Every time he would take another step, okay, we're going to make sure we don't make that mistake again, and he would fix it and you move on forward. And I love that resilience. There was never I'm a failure, I can't do this anymore, all I do is make mistakes. To say, oh, okay, well, that didn't work like I wanted it to, or that worked really well but not quite as much as I wanted it to. And I'm not sure that anything ever worked as much as Walt wanted it to, because he was such a dreamer and he wanted everything so perfect. And one of my favorite, and we'll dive into the quotes here in a second, but one of my favorite things that Walt ever said was when he watched To Kill a Mockingbird. And this is after he'd made plenty of movies, children's movies, live action movies with the animals and such. And he watched To Kill a Mockingbird, and he said that's the kind of movie I want to make. I want to make this kind of movie. And he felt so pigeonholed in terms of people just see me as the kid guy. They see me as the animated kid, the cartoon guy, whatever. But I want to make beautiful, incredible movies like this. And honestly, maybe in a lot of ways, Mary Poppins was kind of something like that, to make a film that was nearly flawless, and I'm saying that I don't even know if there's a connection between Mary Poppins and To Kill a Mockingbird, but I know that after Mockingbird, he was just so blown away. Like, I want to make films that do this kind of kind of impact on people. So let's dive in a little bit. Jen, what's one of your favorite Walt Disney quotes?
Well, these are in no particular order. So
mine aren't either.
Yeah. So I'm just sort of reading them off. So the first one that I just have written down here is you reach a point where you don't work for money.
Love that one.
I love that, because and I agree with it, because if you are just working for money, you're not going to do your best. You're not going to, not saying you're not going to do a good job, but you're not going to put your all into it. And whatever you do will just, I don't know, it'll hold a note of like, there's always something that could have been done better. And if you are working because you're passionate about it, it just creates a whole other entity, I think. So I love that one.
Now, a lot of people get lost on that quote, and they get lost on the fact that it's like, well, Walt didn't care about money.
Yes, he did.
That's not what Walt said, right? Walt Disney Company was a enterprise. He even called it an enterprise at times.
Yes.
And so like, I think we have to be careful not to confuse not being driven by money to not realizing that that's what it takes. Walt truly understood that money was what made everything possible, but it wasn't his core motivation.
Terry, what's your first quote you have written down?
I'll tell you the first one I have written down because it's super different. And this actually is a good follow-up to what Jen even just said. Is Walt was talking about Cinderella, and he said she believed in dreams. All right. She also believed in doing something about them. When Prince Charming didn't come along, she went over to the palace and got him. And that really just speaks to Walt's, even in a fairy tale, because a lot of people talk about, Disney, thank God they made Moana this fun or Brave, and Disney princesses are weak. Well, no. I mean,
No.
Cinderella saw something and she went and got it. She got her man, and and I think Walt was very much that person that everybody kind of ruled him out. Everybody kind of thought he was this creative, you know, aloof, and he was far from it.
First one I wrote down here, and I love this quote, and it's a reminder for me, especially in these times that we've had the last 18 months or so. Why worry? If you've done the very best you can, worrying won't make it any better.
Mhm.
And it's a great reminder to me that yes, you can be concerned for the things that are going on, the things you're trying to do, but if there's something that you're working on, something you're doing, and you have done everything you can to fix it, to make it happen,
Mhm.
and whatever, sometimes those things that the consequences or the results are out of your control, and you can't worry about it because worrying will just stress you. It'll stress you out. It'll bring you down, and you won't be able to continue. And so just try not to worry. If you've done the best job that you can do, worrying is not going to do anything for you. Just
Yeah.
keep moving forward and keep working on it.
Mm.
Jen,
That's such good one. I love that one. Oh, back to my turn.
your turn.
My turn. All right, this one. Happiness is a state of mind. It's just according to the way you look at things. So I think happiness is contentment, but it doesn't mean you have to have wealth. All individuals are different, and some of us just wouldn't be satisfied with just carrying out a routine job and being happy. So I just, the main part there being
Mhm.
happiness is a state of mind. And I think that's really true because you can have, trials or things can be going
Mhm.
on and you can still choose to be happy. That doesn't mean everything's perfect. It just
Right.
means you have to set your mind to that. And I feel like he had to do that over and over again. So I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, happiness is kind of a state of mind. Sometimes it's very hard to be happy because
Sure.
things are going on. Some things-
Absolutely.
it's not always appropriate to be happy, basically. But you can find happiness if there's a silver lining to a lot of things. I don't want to say all things, but to most things there is. You just have to look for it.
But it's like
even
choosing,
sad times.
it's choosing to have a positive attitude, even
Mhm.
when something isn't good. I mean,
Right.
I think we've all had that. It's like,
Yeah.
all right, well, I can choose to just be depressed and I can, and just
Mhm.
obviously, I'm not saying if there's obviously there are situations where, yeah, you literally might be depressed, but in a lot of cases, and it's not always a mind over matter thing. I understand listen, my husband's in mental health. I get it. There are certain things, but in a lot of cases, like, oh man, this isn't going well. I can choose, you know what? Let me look at the bright side of this. This is an opportunity for me to whatever. So I can choose that happiness.
And it's very true in relationships.
Yeah. Very true.
We, every time I watch, forgive me, Father, every time I watch The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, and I literally only watch it because, and I haven't watched lately because who cares? But normally when I watch it like with the frame of the context of like, this is an accident. This is a train wreck, literally on television.
Yes.
This is if I could watch a train hit a wall. This is the emotional equivalent of that. Anyone that I know that's ever been on that show, I'm sorry. But they talk about love like it's a rom-com, right? But like happiness is truly a choice.
Yeah.
Like Monday I'm going to Walt Disney World. We're celebrating our 23rd anniversary, and
Happy anniversary.
we've
happy
chosen
anniversary.
happiness,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Like we've chosen to be happy. It's like, well, I fell out of love. No, we every day it's an effort to, mostly it's an effort on her to ignore all of my stupidity, right? But it's very much a choice. Like you choose to be happy. It's not just something that, no, we hear this phrase a lot in our world that, so something doesn't make me happy. It's like, no, nothing has the power to make you happy. How you respond to it
Mhm.
is where happiness comes from.
Right. And I think that there's, and this word can also encompass a lot of people, but I do believe a sense of, with your faith, I think there is a joy that is there too. And I believe that in faith that, you can be joyful without even being happy. There's still a
Mhm.
joy and a sense of peace
Yeah.
there that you can have, even if you're not very happy with your circumstance. My one here that I have, and I love this one too, because it does speak to what Terry said earlier about how a lot of people just think that Walt was aloof and didn't care about money or whatever. The quote is, I always look on the optimistic side of life, but I am realistic enough to know that life is a complex matter.
Mhm.
And I feel for dreamers, I think it's very important to dream. And I think it's very important to have those goals. And sometimes those
Mhm.
goals that are so far-fetched, you don't know if you'll ever get there. But there's also important to have a sense of realism to your dreams. I could dream all day and be obsessed about the fact that life on the moon looks really cool. I would love to step on the moon and put moon dust in my fingers and just be there. There's very little chance I'm going to go. So I have to be realistic about the fact that I'm going to be able to go to the moon. I could try, and maybe in 20 years I could get there.
Call Jeff Bezos.
And that's a very, very wild example. But I mean, there are things that I dream about and things that I know that I can accomplish. And it might take a while, and some things are shorter, some things are longer. But I also have to have a realism there to know that life doesn't just give you these things. Life is more complicated than that. And, there are some things that are out of my control and maybe out of my reach. I can still dream and still be very optimistic about things, but I think Walt, had he lived, I don't know this, maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like Walt would have come to the realization at some point in the 70s that maybe Epcot's not going to be this city that he really, really, really wanted to happen, because it was just so not practical and just so expensive and whatever. And I'd like to maybe, his optimism there, but realistically, I don't know that this is going to happen. And so that's a quote that really resonates with me too, is be a dreamer, but have a little realism in your dreams when you dream. Harry, go ahead.
Oh man, this is so difficult when you start to think about because Walt, one of the things that I love about Walt is, and that I didn't know, and I actually learned this from, and I found some of these quotes thanks to Jeff Barnes, is there's a couple of really popular quotes. And I'm going to use them both. I'm going to use two quotes here because I don't ever play by the rules.
It's okay.
But there are two quotes that and one of them is this one, that somehow I can't believe that there are any heights that can't be scaled by a man who knows the secrets of making dreams come true. This special secret is, to me, can be summarized in 4 C's: curiosity, confidence, courage, and constancy. I never, I'm not the brightest light bulb in the house. I had never heard the word constancy used in a sentence. So I had to go and get, with the help of our friends Google, look that up, and that's the quality of being faithful and dependable. And I felt like Walt had this sense of loyalty to, Walt rode deep. Yeah, Walt was like a hip hop gangster before anybody was. He had the original posse, the 9 old men. Yeah. And those were his boys, and he got together. I love the Saving Mr. Banks.
Oh, yes.
Portrayal of Walt, and I love the, just the camaraderie that he had with the people that he created with. And the Sherman brothers, and just the way that Walt I think Walt was a secret Southern Baptist pastor. Courage, yes. Confidence, curiosity. There's another famous quote that's that ends with the dream, dare, and do. He liked his alliteration. But I think Walt just had this sense of, I know that creation happens in community. And Walt very much created a community that he created with. And I've talked with a few people that were around Walt in history, and just kind of what was it like being around Walt Disney. McNair had a brief encounter with Walt as a kid. Floyd Norman worked at the studio, and I've talked to a couple of the Disney legends and some that aren't with us anymore. And just the way that Walt was never like a cheerleader, but he also always brought out the best in everyone he would. He never gave everyone a full on, yeah, man, that's great. He always gave them this is really cool, but what if you? He always leaned into the possibility that things could always be better than they are. And he very much even had I love the Walt Disney America quotes. I didn't pick any today. But Walt always had this optimism, and I think he really believed that one of our core values as a country is optimism. I think he even talks about the optimism in the hard times in that Disneyland, the Disneyland opening, and yeah, so that one I dig. Curiosity, confidence, courage, and constancy.
That's good.
All right, Jim, we'll go back to you then, so that way we don't skip Terry this time.
Okay. I like this one. People often ask me if I know the secret of success. And if I could tell others how to make their dreams come true, my answer is you do it by working.
Mm.
There we go. There's
that
the
is
first
so
quote.
true.
See, that's why I had more than 10 because I knew someone was gonna.
I had the constancy one on my list too, Terry. So
There's one I
okay.
should have done because I'm worried somebody's gonna take it, but I distracted myself. If somebody takes it, I'll be mad.
It's like a Walt Disney quote bingo if you're playing along at home.
Yeah, right. But I think that's just, it's really true because people are like, oh, I want to be successful. I want to do this. Okay, well, what are you doing to make it happen? Because you can just sit on your butt and think about it.
Mhm.
That's not going to do jack.
And people should give things to me. And that's a whole
that's
other
not,
road. But
nope,
yeah,
that's not how this works.
you got to work for it. You got to make it
go.
happen. So.
Yeah.
You know, Walt had a trait that I think all great leaders possess, and that's a bias for action.
Yeah.
You know, Walt had an incredible, there wasn't a committee meeting. There was a,
Nope.
That was where the inspiration for my book, Making Elephants Fly, is really around the idea that Walt made a movie about a flying elephant and was like, walked into the WDI office, like, all right, boys, people want to ride an elephant and make it fly. Who knew how to do that back then?
Right.
Like that, but Walt didn't think of any other possibility than that it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
Walt lived in the impossible. In fact, of course, one I'll use this as a bonus quote. Of course, he said it's kind of fun to do the impossible.
No, now you stole my favorite one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so he thrived on the impossible.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a couple that, of course, since I sold your favorite one, I'll tell you my favorite one, and it's the one that I think is the most quintessential Walt Disney quote. It's the one that really, if you want to take Walt's success and put it in one sentence, it's written on the walls of almost every Disney office building I've ever been to. It's in the casting building in Disney Springs. It's in every building, and it's this one: we keep moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things because we're curious, and curiosity keeps leading us down new paths.
That's good.
And I mean, he talked about curiosity a lot, and that's how his favorite ride was rumored to be, Peter Pan's flight. Just because it was like, hey, you get in a pirate ship and fly over London. How is that not? And if you've ever been in that attraction with the lights on, it's not very magical.
No.
But Walt made a way, the clouds are basically like trash bags, essentially, right? And Walt had a way of taking things that were normal to everyone else and just making them absurdly amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, and I like that too, because that boils down to two words: what if? And I look at Jenn's business. She has built an incredible travel agency over the last several years. With a co-owner, they've worked together, but built this incredible team. Because at one point in time, somewhere down the road, before she became a travel agency owner, she asked the question, well, what if? What if I did this? Could I do this? And Terry, you've done the same thing with your, the conference, the thing. And I remember the first time I met you in person, we were having lunch or dinner at Tangerine. I think it was Tangerine Cafe in Morocco, because I was walking around meeting different people, and that I knew, and so we sat down, and you were like, I got this project, this thing coming up sometime in May. So I'm gonna get in touch with you about it. And now it's blossomed to this incredible conference that you do every year, because at some point you said, what if I were to do this? And here we are. And I love just the whole what if of that that. And it kind of goes to one of my favorites as well. And Walt said, get a good idea, stay with it, dog it, work at it until it's done, and it's done right. And I think that last three words is huge. And it's done, or last four words, and it's done right. You don't just do it and like, okay, this is good, and walk away. You finish it until it's finished. You work on it until it's finished, or until you decide this project's no longer viable. Let me move on to something else. But you just keep working at it and keep making it happen and tweak along the way. And I think that's to what we said earlier, how Walt fixed things as he went along, going, okay, well, what worked, what didn't. That was awesome. These things didn't work. Let's fix it for the next project, and the next project, something else didn't, and just on and on and on. And he just kept working at it, and I love that. This is like, we keep joking about the system that our agency uses, tests, and how I'd never work in it. But if I did, I could keep working it until it was done right. So Jen, maybe
I'll encourage you. I'll be like, listen to that Walt quote, Dave. You could.
All right, Jen. One final quote from you, from Walt. Let's finish up our last round.
One more. Okay.
Well, we definitely, before we do our final quotes, this isn't my podcast, but I'm taking over.
Please do.
Let's talk about, because we all should end with our which will probably all be the same. But obviously, the most famous quote that's attributed, and you said you wanted to talk about this. I think the most famous, literally, I have a plaque from Hallmark that says Walt Disney said this, but he didn't. And that's, if you can dream it, you can do it. Walt Disney never said that. Do either of you know who said that?
Is it Marty Sklar?
Bingo.
Boom.
Yeah, David Dollar, you win you get to go buy yourself another obnoxious Disney shirt next time you're in the park.
By the way, I'm wearing my new one. I've never worn this before.
Which one is? What do you have on today?
Pixar shirt. It's my birthday shirt. So yeah, it's
your birthday shirt is better than your birthday suit.
I'm debuting that on the next podcast. So yeah.
I'm busy.
Jen's definitely coming to start a podcast with me now.
So Terry, when do you want to have a meeting about that?
You'll do the bougie podcast. I'll do the booty podcast, and we'll we'll just create ourselves a network.
Yikes!
I didn't know where that joke was going to go when I said it, so I kept going with it.
So yeah, Marty. Yeah, back. Let's circle it back.
Yeah, thank you.
David Dollar said booty, and I need it. I need Will Smith to come in and flash the light to erase all of those memories right now. But Marty wrote that for the Figment ride. Well, whatever that was called before, I just called it the Figment ride because I love Figment,
Journey into Imagination with
because the rest of it is kind of horrific.
Well, we need the original version back. I keep saying this.
Everybody says they want the original version, and I
want an updated one.
I want an updated, modern, respectable. Give Figment, besides
his dignity back.
Besides living on all of the besides being the sponsor of all of the festivals at Epcot Festival Park.
Well, I want the original Stitch's Great Escape back too, but I don't know that's going to happen. So
Yeah,
anyway.
I'm okay with that.
I'll take the original. If we're going to get rid of Stitch, let's go back to the one that used to terrify children and go back to the original era. Was it Alien Encounter? Was that?
Alien
Encounter. No, that terrified me.
I remember going on that ride as a teenager, and I'm pretty sure I needed new underwear after that ride. It was just
terrifying.
It was terrifying.
It was like I was in it. I had no idea. It was like extraterrestrial. I'm like, oh, it's Disney. How scary is it going to be? Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that bad.
It was that bad. It was worse.
It made Halloween Horror Nights look like a happy experience.
Literally, it's like, oh, what? Just like Jason's coming out with a
made the price you pay for your tickets
seem cheap. Whatever.
But Walt had 3 quotes that kind of ended up and a lot of your favorite motivational speakers do this, and I'm like, there's a girl that writes books, and I'm like, that's she has a quote that she's always using. I'm like, that's John Acuff's quote. You just changed the tense of the word. But Marty wrote half of these words probably for Walt to start with, because he wrote a lot of Walt's speeches, and but Walt said 3 things that are like, if you can dream, you can do it, and they're all great. And then we can all do our favorite quotes. All of our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them.
Mm-hmm.
He said, some dream it, some do it, and some do both, which I love. And this is the one that's the most like it. If you can visualize it, if you can dream it, there's some way to do it. And, a lot of people take Walt's quote about dreaming and doing, or Smarty's quote about, and think that dreams are like phone a friend, and you don't have to do it. But Walt clearly took action throughout his entire life and career, up until his deathbed, really.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Favorite quote, Jen?
Well, I'm not going to say it's my favorite necessarily, because my
Oh,
favorite is it's kind
quote.
of final quote. My favorite is it's kind of fun to do the impossible. But the way to get started is to quit talking and begin doing.
Bingo.
That is straight up like it's correct. People are like, oh, well, I'm thinking about, I'm talking about, I'm putting together, like, no, just go start doing something. Like, you have an idea? Okay, buy the website. Like, what is the first thing that you can do? What is attainable right now? You know, if you just sit around and try to make out this whole whatever, like, oh, I'm going to do this and that. I mean, yes, you should try to put together some sort of a plan, but at the end of the day, if it's not starting, just start doing something.
Well, it's funny because Terry and I actually met online many years ago, 6-7 years ago now, I guess, in an online circle group put together by author John Acuff. And one of the running jokes that was in that group was #soon, because that's what everybody says. Soon I'm going to do this, or I'll get this done soon. And soon never happens. No, it just, you keep saying soon. And it's something that a year from now, you're like, well, is it soon yet? Probably not. And so, yeah, that's really good. It's you got to just do it. At some point, you have to do it.
Yeah. And quit talking about it. Just take action. Start taking action.
One final quote from you, Terry. What you got?
Oh, goodness. So many. I don't know that I think one of the most famous quotes that I think really sums up Walt's spirit is not my favorite quote, but I'm going to say it because we haven't said it. And it would be a travesty to not mention this quote before we end the show. Unless this is your quote, David Dollar, but I doubt it is. That I only hope we don't lose sight of one thing, that it was all started by a mouse. That quote always gives me like the warm and fuzzies every time I hear it. Which is a little weird. The only weird thing about it is it wasn't started by a mouse. It was actually started by a rabbit.
He didn't own that rabbit then, though. So
right, and so
well, the rest of the quote is, after Mintz screwed me over, it was started by a mouse. So people leave that part out.
After copyright infringement, you know, I found this quote last night, and I had never seen it, and I think it suits like the time and history we're in, and just a lot of the things I really believe at my core right now. Walt said that a person should set his goals as early as he can and devote all his energy and talent to getting there. With enough effort, he may achieve it. Or he may find something else that's even more rewarding. But in the end, no matter what the outcome, he will know that he has been alive.
I like it.
I've never heard that one. I love that.
I never heard that one either, and I love it.
One of my favorites, and I guess this isn't my first, I don't know, I would have to go looking really, do a top 10 list of rankings to figure out which one is my favorite. But this final quote here is, the more you are like yourself, the less you are like anybody else, which makes you unique. And I know that kind of plays into the whole rah-rah, you be, whatever. And, you know, there is a lot of that that's out there, and some of it's just fluff, and some of it's, you know, more, I don't know, some of it's more light than it should be. But I do love the fact that Walt encourages people to be who you are. I mean, to chase the dreams you want to chase. Don't feel like you have to adopt somebody else's dreams. Don't feel like you have to chase somebody else's goals. You know, be who you are, because because everybody's the same, then it's boring. If you're who you are, then you're by nature, it makes you unique. And I love that little just positive spin on it, because that's who you are. And so that's what makes us all different. That's why we all have different strengths and different weaknesses, and different things we're passionate about. You know, Pop Century, Grand Floridian, the Four Seasons. And so there we go. We got 3 different passions right there. So very good. All right. So Terry, before we end up, I have one question to ask you. And this is just something that popped in my head. There is and I don't know, maybe Jen's heard this, maybe she hasn't, but of course the romantic version of Mickey Mouse is that they came back from the train after losing Oswald, and Walt drew the picture on a thing, wanted to name him Mortimer. Lillian was like, no, we should name him Mickey. And it's this incredible fun story. I've also heard that was kind of a more romantic tale than the actual truth itself. That really the truth is it's a name he'd been knocking around, a character he'd been knocking around a while. The name just kind of came maybe from Lillian, but also from other sources as well. What do you think? Do you think that the romantic version is pretty much the truth, or do you think there's truth and validity to, maybe there was more than just on a train draw a character and Lillian's like, name him Mickey?
So if you go to the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco, you can, and if you go to their website, I think you can actually listen to the audio of Lily actually telling that story. So I've actually heard her tell that story. So I have a hard time saying that Walt Disney's wife was wrong about something.
Well, we'll go with that.
And as someone that's married, when you know very frequently that they actually know what's happening more than we do at times.
Very true.
And so, like, I mean, sure, like it was obviously something that he was messing around with. I mean, there's no secret that if you look at the sketches of Walt and the sketches of Oswald, you basically just have some different ears.
Yeah,
right.
Some pie eyes moved around a little bit. You know, I mean, you can literally. I'll get you the link so you can put it in the show notes. The Walt Disney Family Museum actually, I think, has the audio of that story.
Fun.
If you really want some great Walt Disney history, the Walt Disney Family Museum has a great like timeline of Walt's life and when everything, and you can actually follow it and kind of like they have pictures and stories along the way of those things. And I remember when I was writing the book, I actually went to the family museum and like it was one of those museum days where I like apologized to my wife before we got there. I was like, we're gonna be here a long time today. And ever since then, she's just like, why don't you go by yourself on this one? And that was the same trip. We actually went to that. We went to there, and then we went to wine country and went to the Charles Schultz Museum.
Oh, fun!
And it was super interesting.
Good trip.
Yeah. Well, I was in the middle of writing the book, and like there were both people who inspired me. And I'm actually have another book project that'll include both of them. But what's super interesting about Walt compared to like Schultz is, you go to the Walt Disney Family Museum and you go to like the main floor downstairs before you get to like the beautiful model of Disneyland. And you walk through like all of Walt, and then the next thing you walk into is the room about the 9 old men, and Walt and the making of Snow White, and that's a permanent exhibit there. And like, all of those guys aren't with us anymore. I guess like one of their wives is, I think, Tinkerbell. I can't think of her name right now. She was the one that inspired Walt for what Tinkerbell would look like.
Margaret something, or am I just throwing it out there because that's an older
Margaret
name?
played Tinkerbell, but it was one of the 9 old men. I'd have to Alice Davis.
Yes,
Wife. And I love when you go to Wikipedia, the picture of the 9 old men standing in front of the storyboards. They look like Walt's little gangsters. And Ward Kimball looks like, a cartoon character. There was just so much there was so much in the like creative environment that like a lot of those stories were told. Like when we did the movie As Dreamers Do about Walt, we tend to lean more towards like what Walt said about it. Because like some of the like there's some like things about like as we're reading these quotes that even it's like, well, Walt, just what did Walt say? And so like, to really fully answer your question, what his wife said was, Walt was drawing it on a napkin and it wasn't, the name was horrible. So
Mortimer. It was Mortimer. Like,
right.
That's terrible.
Well, I think that's
something you'd say to your husband if he had a bad idea.
100%.
That's a horrible idea. Don't call it Mortimer. That's awful.
We'll find that audio.
We
have to play that audio on the show. It might be kind of fun. And I think that's a good place to wrap up. Terry, first of all, we need to know where you can find you, but also you got a conference coming up called The Thing. And let me do a little promotion for The Thing. It's a conference that basically it is full of entrepreneurs, authors, speakers, people who network, marketers, just people all the way around, which is amazing. I've gone for a couple of years in a row now, and it really is. Every speaker comes up and they kind of give their ideas. And these are things, a lot of times they'll be giving you things in their speeches that they would normally charge for. And I've managed to have one-on-one interactions with a lot of people, and I've gotten a lot of great ideas, everything from a website to a marketing plan to social media to just making some friendships, making friendships with people that I value, in terms of my my relational walk. And so I think it's a great conference to go to. It's the first weekend in November. Terry, did I kind of spell that out about right? Is there more to add to it, or is that kind of a good enough commercial for it?
Man, you've had a front row seat for years, so
I have. I have. And I've encouraged Jen to go a couple of times, and so we may have.
It's never worked out with my schedule. I'll have to look and see if I can make that.
Work that out. You can find where can we find all this information, Terry?
The thing is at thething.live, and it's literally right after the owners conference that and that they're
Mhm.
doing for you travel agent owners, where they bring you around and go, "Hey, here's the new stuff." And,
Yep.
um,
And then Jen reports back, "Hey, we got new stuff coming," which is nice.
yeah,
No,
and
but you can't say anything about it.
yeah, and the real deal with the thing is exactly that you said, Dave. That I wanted there to be a place where people who had big dreams could get the tools and resources to be able to make them real. And I realized that like there are a lot of people who don't know how to market. They have these great ideas. They don't know how to like grow a community. They don't know how to to actually make their ideas real. And that's what Walt knew. And Walt did it by bringing together people and people that were smarter. And
Mhm.
even one of them, thinking of the Walt Disney Family Museum, one of the most fascinating things about going there is watching how much learning those guys did.
Mhm.
When they made Bambi, well, it's like, can you guys go get a deer? We need a deer. Someone bring in a deer, and like that's crazy, right? Like, who does that? And Walt did. Like, hey guys, we're spending an afternoon with in Pixar. Even still, like in the way they create movies, they still do that. I love the behind the scenes documentary behind. And we should the great Ed Asner passed away this week.
Oh, I know.
And Up, I think, is a movie that truly represents Walt's legacy in a very strong way, because I think he was in a lot of ways portrayed in that film. But the documentary, if you haven't seen it, I think it's probably on Disney Plus, and if not, and if you've bought the movie, which most of us bought that movie before Disney Plus came out, but it's on there of how they made it and all like the behind the scenes and how like they spent so much energy in researching the backstory. And so the thing in a lot of ways is that how do you get your dreams real? We talk about marketing. We talk about, and I've brought the smartest people I know from, and over the years we've had Disney Imagineers and Disney vice presidents and different leaders that come in to teach, really just helping leaders break through walls. And, we've come off a horrible 18 months in our world and in our country. And, we're in the middle of this season where we all need a breakthrough. We all need resources. We're in the middle of 60% of the workforce is looking for a new opportunity right now. And so that's what we created the thing for. And it's a lot of fun. We do it in a very fun way. It's in Orlando, where it's a Hyatt place right outside of Disney Springs, literally like 5 minutes from the parking lot, and you're in Disney Springs. So yeah, we're excited about it. And Dave, you've been a huge part of it. And almost anyone, when they talk about the thing, they say, "Oh, David Dollar." You've become as much part of the thing. And if you ever can't come, we're gonna have to like set like a Hawaiian shirt at a table, like to hold your spot, because people will be like, "This is David's seat."
Well, two things that I love about it, and I know this turned into a full commercial for the thing, but I like talking about things I'm passionate about. And one is the fact that I've been to a lot of conferences, and some conferences they're great, but they're rah-rah conferences. You can do it, you can dream it, you can do it, you can whatever, and you walk out there going, "Yeah, I can do it. I just don't know how to do it, but I can do it." The thing is a conference that says, "Okay, you can do it. Here's how you do it." And you have a lot of people that you look at and go, "I want to be that guy." And they're going to show you how to be that guy or put you on the way to that. And the other thing is we had a one-day event in Nashville. And from that one-day event, I'll be honest with you, I developed a complete restructure of my day every day that has worked incredibly for me. Had I not gone to that one-day event for the thing, I don't know that I would have even thought about it. But I developed a whole structure of how to work my day out with all the things I have going on, and it's been fantastic. It's been incredible. So that really stems from the thing in Nashville. I think I called Jen as I was sitting at a coffee shop. I was trying to finish some stuff up or whatever. And I was calling Jen talking about, this client, blah, 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 blah. Wants to do this, that, and the other. And which, by the way, they're the ones I told you about that are booking to go to Disney World now. But anyway, so yeah, it's a great conference. The thing.live, go there for information. Jen, where can we find you on the vast wide interwebs?
You can find me on all social platforms at Upon a Star Jen, and then my personal Instagram is at Jen_Novotny.
Perfect. Find me on Instagram at the Magic on a Dollar. Find me on Facebook at Disney on a Dollar and Magic on a Dollar as well. And of course, find the MSE podcast. That is the phrase that pays in magic and love and pixie dust. The MSE podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, and all those type places. Go there at gmail.com is our our email address.
Yep.
The MSCpodcast.com is our website, and all the show notes will be here, including all Terry's information, including how to get to the thing and such. But Terry, this has been a delight. This has been a lot of fun to talk here.
This was fun. Yeah. In fact, if you use the code podcast to sign up for the thing, that's 10% off.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
Cool.
Just use the code podcast to save your money and your tickets.
Exclusive to the Main Street Electrical Podcast listeners and all the other people he's told about. Exclusive to just those people.
Oh, that's
so
almost
for
the
Jen,
same.
pretty much, might as well be. For Jen, for Terry, for myself, don't forget to thank your Phoenicians.
Thank you for listening to the Main Street Electrical Podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at the MSE Podcast, or visit our website at themsepodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe, and may all your wishes come true.